Good morning, students. Welcome to the subject of BPS. We are dealing with unit number 4, and it is formulation of competitive strategy. Right? We have introduced ourselves to the different competitive strategies. Right? Starting with the types of growth strategy. The renewal strategy, that is the main area. Growth and renewal strategies are the main area of your syllabus, and we have covered the introduction to the competitive strategy, what it is all about, right? Issues related to it. We have introduced ourselves to 3 stages of the company and how they take up with different strategies at that time. We have seen the overall view about the growth strategy, the stability strategy, and the renewal strategy, right? In the previous sessions, we have started with the types of growth strategy. As you can see it is the concentrated strategy and concentrated strategy on product development and integration, which we have seen yesterday or in the previous session, right? So let us start today with the strategic alliance as one of the growth strategy. Now, how this strategic alliance works and what it is all about, that we will see it in today's session, and maybe few more growth strategies will be able to take up. So let us begin with the strategic alliance. Now, what is the strategic alliances? Strategic alliances are nothing but the agreements between two or more independent companies to cooperate in manufacturing, development, or sale of the products and services or any other business activities. Means when two or more companies are coming up together, they decide to cooperate each other, maybe in the manufacturing, maybe in the development, maybe in the sale of products or services or any other business activity, is known as the strategic alliance, right? For example, there is a strategic alliance, say between the company A and company B, combine their respective resources, capabilities, and core competencies to generate mutual interest in designing, manufacturing, or distributing goods and services. That means, in example given here, that is company A and company B are combining maybe with their resources, maybe the capabilities, core competencies, and they are trying to generate a kind of mutual interest, say in designing, manufacturing, or distribution of the goods or services. That means for any business activity, they are aligning together, they are coming together, they are they are creating alliance. That means a group or coming or merging together is said to be the strategic alliance. It is done. Why it is done? Then it is done to get the synergy advantage, that is combined efforts, right? Will generate more values than the sum of individual efforts. That means it is understood, or it is drafted in their mind. As an individual company, they may not be able to survive, or they may not be able to create that much of value. Instead, if they synergize together, or if they come up together in the form of strategic alliances, then they may be able to take up with the more efforts. They can bring up more profit to both the companies, right? So strategic alliance is an alternative of buying the other value chain firms through the acquired growth in the form of mergers or acquisitions. So strategic alliance is one of the alternative way. Instead of mergers and acquisitions, they are coming up together, right? It strengthens. Why it is done? Then it strengthens the competitive advantage of the firm within the domestic operations and also in the global operations. Means the alliance can be done within the global companies also, or in the domestic, or by the domestic companies also. So if you refer with the definitions given in the text, you will realize that strategic alliance involves joining the forces of or resources for a specified or for infinite period for achieving the common objectives of two or more firms. That means when two or more firms are willingly coming up together so as to share the resources, or maybe for a period of time, or maybe for infinite period of time, right? So that the common objectives of both the firms are achieved. To get this advantage, when they join hands together, it is strategic alliance. So strategic alliance is an agreement, again, between two or more kind of firms to pursue a set of agreed objectives along with maintenance of independent status of the organization. That means here the organizational status or entity does not merge up, they are as it is, but they join mutually, they join hands together so that the agreed objectives can be fulfilled, which would have not been possible in other case, right? So strategic alliance is sought with the resources such as product, markets, divisions, means any type of business activity can bring up the strategic alliances, right? And you can create alliance for any of the reasons, in fact. So the motivating force behind creating the strategic alliance is to have the joining firms, or to get the joining firm gets a synergy advantage. That means there is a combined effort that will generate more values for both the companies, right? And which would have not been possible with the individual effort. So when a synergy advantage is like described, 2 plus 2 is greater than 4. That means when you are two, or means two companies are coming up together, what they would have not done individually, or what they would have not been able to achieve individually, they would have been able to achieve when they come up together in the form of two different companies and joining hands for respective kind of objectives that they have been deciding to work for, right? So that is what is known as the strategic alliance. So strategic alliance it can be also considered as a coordination between some common segments among the firms, right? Along with retaining, see, individual identity or individual independent status is not being out here, it is not being taken up like in mergers and acquisitions. Instead, both the firms, or whatever the firms, are joining hands together. They have their own legal identities, they are independent, they are enjoying the independent status, but for few objectives they are coming up together, and that is what is known as strategic alliance, right? There are different classifications of strategic alliance under two broad heads, that is nature of activities and nature of ownership. That means whatever the activities are taken up, on the basis of that the horizontal strategic alliance can be there, vertical can be there, and intersectoral strategic alliance can also be there, right? So when we talk about the horizontal, now you know the meaning of horizontal as we have seen in the integration. So horizontal strategic alliance is between two such firms which are in the same industry, right? Whereas when it comes to say the strategic alliance in the form of vertical, right, then we can say that vertical alliance is such a kind of say the coordination, or maybe the alliance wherein two or more companies are coming up for the reason so that to have the advantage of backward or forward integration, right? That means it is a collaboration between two or more firms along the vertical chain. That means whether they are moving towards, either they are moving towards the source of supplies, that means towards the raw materials, which is known as backward say integration, or it may be for the forward, that is towards the customers, right? Whatever the nature of activities may be, depending upon that, there can be horizontal strategic alliance or there can be vertical strategic alliance. There can be one more, that is intersectoral strategic alliance. Here what happens is that two or more firms neither in the same industry nor related, but they join hands together so as to have some kind of benefit to both the companies. For example, say the cooperation of the toys are us with it's a name of a company, with McDonald's in Japan, resulting in toys R Us stores with built-in McDonald's restaurant. That means wherever the McDonald's restaurants is there, there is a toy shop there, and that is both the sectors. That means one is the eatery and the other one is toy sector, but they are joining hands for some kind of common interest of gaining more number of customers, and both the companies are such, or both the firms may be such, who may be gaining the win-win kind of situation or win-win kind of advantage, and that is considered to be the intersectoral strategic alliance, right? This was all about the nature of activities. So on the basis of nature of activities, strategic alliance can be there of three types: horizontal, vertical, and intersectoral. Now let us study on the nature of ownership. Now on the basis of nature of ownership, how the strategic alliance can be there. One is considered to be the joint venture. What happens in the joint venture? Then two or more firms share some of their resources and capabilities to develop a cooperative company advantage. That means both the companies are coming up together, they share their resources, right, maybe their capabilities, and like that they are going to take the advantage of both the resources, both the firms resources and capabilities together. That is considered to be joint venture. Next comes up is equity strategic alliance. Now what is this type? Then in which two or more companies own different percentage of company they have formed by combining some resources and capital, right? For example, see, the example has been quoted here that Ford's investing 33.4% share in Mazda. Then that is what is said to be the percentage share of the capital or resources that that is being shared by one company in the other company, that is known as the equity share strategic alliance, right? Next comes up is non-equity. Now in this what happens is wherein two or more firms develop a contractual relationship between one or the other one, right? That means there is a contractual relationship between two or more firms who share some of their unique features, right? Unique resources and capabilities are shared to create a kind of competitive advantage. That means both of them know that they have a unique feature with them and they want to tie up these unique feature, otherwise these resources and capabilities would have not been present in the other firm, which they want to get it together. Then that is what is known as the next, that is non-equity strategic alliance, right? Next comes up is global strategic alliance. Now wherein the name itself tells you that working partners between two or more companies across the national boundaries, and that is how the international firms come up together and they create a kind of strategic alliance. That means strategic alliance can be of these many types depending upon the nature of activities, that is horizontal essay, vertical essay or intersectoral essay. On the basis of ownership, it can be on the basis of, say, joint venture, when two or more companies come up with their resources and capabilities and they are ready to share it by both the companies so that both the company gets the advantage. Next comes up is equity essay, wherein a little percentage is being shared in the other company by one or the other firms. Next comes up is non-equity. Here there is no sharing up of the resources. Instead, the unique feature of the both the companies are shared together. It may be the resources and capabilities so as to create a competitive advantage over the other competitors. Next comes up is global strategic alliance, wherein there are working partners between two or more companies across the national boundaries. That means not binding the firm within the national boundary. In fact, international boundaries are crossed and international firms can come up together with some unique feature with each other and they can join hands together, and that is what is said to be global strategic alliances. Alright, while taking up with the strategic alliances, few steps are to be followed. That means there are stages of strategic alliance formation. It cannot be framed in vacuum, and it is a kind of formality, and it is a kind of the process through which the two companies come up together. So number one comes up as strategic development. Strategy development includes what? That is studying of the alliance feasibility, objectives, the reason, focusing of the major issues and the challenge and the development of the resources that they may have to face, right? It requires aligning alliances objective with the overall corporate strategy. That means what happens is both the firms study the alliance feasibility, the objective and the reason why they want to get there. So that is the first stage, that is strategy development. Next stage that comes up is partners assessment. That means whosoever is joining hands with each other, the partner assessment is there. That means you are analyzing or examining the potential partner's strength, weakness, and preparing appropriate partner selection criteria so that you select the correct partner while aligning or while joining the while creating the alliance or while joining the hands, and that is how the partners assessment is done at the next stage. So strategy development, wherein we are trying to find out the feasibility, objectives and the reason. At the next stage there is partners assessment. That means the partners with whom you are joining the hands, they are being assessed, they are being analyzed. When we take up with the word analysis, it's a close examination between the firms, and wherein they find out the strength and weakness of each other, and they try to see that the compatibility of the partner and whether the partner's selection criteria are being fulfilled or not. Right. Next, third stage comes up is contract negotiation. Here what happens is deciding that all the partners have realistic objectives. That means whosoever are joining are actually having the real objectives with them, forming high negotiating teams. That means the teams are being framed, deciding each partner's contribution and rewards. Means it's a kind of contract signed between the companies, right, between the joining hands. And what they do is they try to then clear out with the different say terms and conditions, say termination clauses, penalties for poor performance, proprietary information, right. Then these things are being clearly stated and understood by the partners, so that there can be no ambiguity as far as the individual interests are concerned. Next stage comes up is D, which is known as alliance operation. And what happens before the actual termination, or that means before the things end up, they actually for which reason they have come up together, that alliance operation is there. Means involves addressing management commitments, budgets and resources, measuring and rewarding the alliance performance and results of the alliance. It starts operating according to the contract then, and then at the end everything is being checked, the commitments are being checked, budgets and resources are being measured, right. Even the whether the alliance has been of any use or not, those results are being checked, performances are being checked, and likewise the alliance operation is being evaluated. At the end, the fifth stage, that is alliance termination, means winding down the alliance when objectives have been met. That means this see, one thing we have to remember, that strategic alliance is such a kind of agreement wherein two firms are coming up together with some kind of objectives, and if they feel during their journey or after they feel that they have say received the objectives or they have accomplished the objectives of both the firms, then they may terminate the contract, and they may terminate the alliance, that is they can wind down the alliance, right, and they can again work as separate entity. Though in here in strategic alliance, again the separate entity of the companies are not being lost, so that should not be the problem. But yes, the alliance activities then stops to go ahead after the alliance is being terminated. So it is at the last stage, and not necessary that this stage comes up every time, and not necessary that it comes up within a period of time. So winding down the alliance is the alliance termination, when objectives have been met and cannot be met, or partners reallocate the resources elsewhere, or they feel that here the objectives have been achieved, now they want to get the strategic alliance from the other companies, they can wind up the present one and they can take up the resources to the other sources, right. And this is how there can be the stages of strategic alliance understood. I repeat, first of all, the strategy development is there, wherein the feasibility, objectives and rationale is being checked. Next stage, the partners assessment is there. There is the strength, weakness of the partner is being evaluated, and whether to go with what type of partnership criteria and what type of partner should exist, that is created or that is being checked out. At the third stage, there is a kind of negotiation contract between both the companies, right. At the fourth stage, which is very crucial, wherein the actual performance of gaining the objectives and whatever the activities are required to get those objectives is being worked out, right. The resources and the budgets are being checked, the rewarding alliances are being checked, the performances are being checked, and the results are being evaluated. And if the objectives are achieved after that, if they feel that yes, after a period of time the rewards are there and they have achieved the objectives for which they have come up together, then they may depart also, they can wind down the alliance also, and they can be as the partners for long period of time also, or they can select or reallocate their resources elsewhere to the other partner company, right. This is how the strategic alliance works with these 5 stages. Next comes up is the advantages and disadvantages. These disadvantages and advantages are already there in your text. You can just go through. If you have understood the concept properly, then there should not be any issues related to advantages and the demerits of the strategic alliance that has been mentioned in your text. right? Some of the examples are also given in the text related to say when strategic alliance is done with the motive of creating research and development, when the strategic alliance is done for the manufacturing purpose, when it is done for marketing purpose, say when it is done specially to enter the particular market, maybe for the sales purpose it is done. So there are or maybe for the equity participation there can be there. That means there are various motive of taking up with very strategic alliance, and those examples with the different companies have been quoted. You can just go through them, and if you wish to you can remember one or two and represent in the answers if you wish to. All right, so here we come to an end of strategic alliance as a short note, and these may be important from the point of view of examination also. Coming up to the next area is the fourth type of growth strategy, that is known as diversification, right? Fourth is diversification. The diversification, the name itself tells you that it is such a kind of efforts taken up by the company which may be in the related or unrelated field, right? So up till now whatever the strategies that we have done was concentrated growth strategy, it was concentrated product development strategy, integration, taking up with vertical integration, backward, forward and horizontal, mergers, acquisition and strategic alliance, right? Then comes up is the fourth one, that is known as diversification. So diversification is such a kind of say a strategy adopted by the company wherein they can go for the related or unrelated businesses, right? This decision is for the growth and development. At times you feel that the diversified field may give you more amount of profit or will allow you to have more growth, then at that time such a decision may be taken up. It can be as I told you in the related field also, or it can be in the unrelated, totally unrelated field also. When we are talking about the related field, there can be an example quoted here. That means say for example an electronic goods manufacturing company enters into a completely innovative product, right? Related innovative product, then it is considered to be the related diversification. While when we talk about unrelated diversification, that means for example we take up with the same example, that is electronic goods manufacturing companies enter into communication equipment, then that can be considered unrelated. That means there is no connection between the electronic goods and the communication equipment, but though they have taken up with the they have taken up a chance to go there and take up the diversification. So there can be related or unrelated diversification. The diversification strategy can be categorized as under, right? There can be see various types of diversification. There can be horizontal, conglomerate, concentric diversification can be there, as you can see it here, right? And there can be international expansion also. So let us see it one by one how this goes. As of now you should be clear that because we are almost reaching towards the end of the chapter, you should be clear about the vertical and horizontal, what it means in as far as the strategies are concerned, right? So again when we are talking about the horizontal diversification, what it involves the additional investment in a similar line of production. That means the line of production remains the same, but additional investment is done here. It can be doubling the production capacity in the same line of products, means by creating the increased production capacity you can create the growth. Here the business risk is relatively less as compared to conglomerate diversification, because already developed field is there, already the investment has been there and in the single line, and you are adding to that investment, so you are already aware about the business risk and the types of market that you are supposed to deal. So the risk involved is here less, right? For example, Honda company of Japan, using the technology of the engines, diversified from the basic product motor cars to motorcycles, tractors, garden tillers, etc. Now if Honda company is using the technology, right, from the engines that they used to use for the motor cars, now the same types of engine with a little modification they are also trying to take up with the motorcycles, tractors, garden tillers, etc. But ultimately the line remains the same, that is of the vehicle, right? So the line remains the same. So what happens is, with the little bit of modification or with the little bit of investment in all these areas, it can create the growth. Then such a kind of diversification is considered to be the horizontal diversification. Again, the set of advantages and disadvantages are available in your text, and you can go through them very easily. You will come to know about the if you have understood the concept of horizontal diversification, I don't think you should have any queries related to the advantages and disadvantages, right? Next set that comes up is conglomerate diversification. Now, what is this conglomerate diversification? Then a conglomerate diversification is a large company that consists of diverse divisions that produce and sell unrelated goods and services. That means there is no relationship between the goods and services that they are producing. So it is a combination of two or more corporate entities engaged in entirely different businesses falling under one corporate group. The corporate group may be one, but they may be into so many diverse sectors, right? A parent company may be there with so many kind of subsidiary companies. The best examples are of the ITC Limited or maybe Tata Group, from salt to higher motors producing the vehicles. Everything is taken up, or so many sectors are being covered by Tata Group. Or there may be ITC company, right, from the tobacco company of India to whatever the things they have taken up, from foods ready to eat, or say maybe any kind of biscuits, right? Hotel groups, so many things have been taken up under the ITC company limited. So this can be considered to be the conglomerate kind of diversification. So here there can be no connectivity, but even though there can be a single group, one corporate group is a must, and that considers itself to be a parent company, and there may be so many subsidiary other companies with the diversified products in the market, and that is what is known as the conglomerate diversification. The next type of diversification, again the set of advantages, disadvantages are there in your text, you can refer them. Yes, it is a must to refer it, because if any questions related to this type of say specific strategy asked to you, we need to provide with the advantages and disadvantages and what it means all about, then and then the answer gets complete, right? Next, third one comes up is concentric diversification. Now concentric is a kind of a geometric term, right? It refers to the objects which have a common center. The objects that are having the common center may be origin or axis, right? Then that can be considered as concentric. Now how we can relate it here? See, when the business activities spread in different directions, but they are having some major common relationship, it is treated as concentric. Means though they are in different fields, but few things are in common, then that can be considered. Or maybe the say the source from where it has come up, that may be common. Say the common center can be the source of raw material, can be the brand name, maybe the marketing of the diverse products, but the marketing strategy is followed same for all of them. Then that becomes the concentric kind of say diversification, right? Say for example, now why it is used, that it is used to increase their appeal to customers, because they are already there and it is just the add-on to it, and that is why they can appeal the customers the most. It can increase the market share by introducing a range of new products that are likely not to only attest the existing or attract that existing customer, but also can help to create the new ones. So already the market share is there, you are already established company, and with this what you do is you are trying to add the products to it, and you are trying to attract more number of customers. See for example, a company producing paper plates may add other product lines like disposable drinking cups, napkins, or maybe plastic cutleries, etc. Then what happens at the end is that their main raw material remains the same. Or maybe we can take up the example of dairy product also. Say for dairy marketing, only raw milk adds to its business activities, like by providing the raw milk like buttermilk, cheese, ice creams, milk powders, etc. Now it falls in the same category because their source of raw material is milk, right? So this is what is known as co-centric diversification, right? This is again there is set of advantages and disadvantages being given to you in the text, which you can refer it. The next comes up is international expansion, which is the fourth important type of growth strategy, right? That is known as the international expansion. Now whatever the topics that we are going to study here under this particular area, that will be such which you have already studied somewhere in the form of ED or in the subject of ED. You have already seen them and they are not new terms to you, right? Let us see it now. What is this international expansion all about? It means to set the commercial transactions between two nations, organization for the growth and development of both the organizations. That means they may be at the two companies may be in the different nations, but even though they are joining hands together, the purpose is to find the scope of new markets, new customers, and to earn lot of profits. Then it is complex as compared to domestic expansion due to difference in the culture, tradition, policies, languages, currency, etc. The name itself tells you it is international expansion. So one company is either entering the other global boundaries. So what happens is it may be little complex as compared to domestic. The reason may be that they may be different from each other in the form of culture, tradition, policies, and so many other things. So there are all chances that it may prove to be a little complex kind of strategy. Next comes up is it has been increasing in the developing economies as it can boost the development process faster. Multinational companies or maybe the international expansion is such a kind of a strategy in which we'll see so many kind of strategies that can be adopted, right? And it is a must for the growing economy because that helps to have the faster development, right? Again, the advantages and disadvantages are mentioned in the text, and you can just go for the advantages of international expansion likewise, right? When we are talking about international expansion, there are various forms with which the international expansion can be taken up. As we can see it here, there are various ways or various forms with which the international expansion can be there. One is multi-domestic approach, the other one is franchising, licensing, joint venture, and these are the types. That means 4 types we are going to see it here, with which we will come to know that with which ways the international expansion can be there, right? So there are 4 ways of the same, and that we'll see it one by one. And when I'm talking about these 4 ways, as I told you, you have already studied, you have introduced them yourselves to them in the maybe previous years or previous sems under the subject of entrepreneurship development, right? Okay, coming back to one here, that is multi-domestic approach. Now what it is followed by MNC. It operates in several countries as per the local needs. Multi-domestic means at so many places there can be the branches, right? The local situation is studied and the advantage and the other marketing efforts are then tailor-made. That means it is catered accordingly. The local situation, the local market is studied, and then you come up in that particular local market with a tailor-made program. Then that is what is all about in the multi-domestic approach. There is a kind of win-win situation. That means win-win interaction is there, from which all the participants who are there can get the profit in some or the other ways. The purpose of having the multi-domestic approach is this, that whosoever is the participant can get the benefit of it, right? So a multi-domestic strategy of global trade is an international marketing approach that chooses to focus advertising and other commercial effort as per the tailor-made needs of the local market, and rather than mass marketing approach, what is being done is multi-domestic approach focuses on the local area, local situation, and then the tailor-made program can be there for each one of them, right? That is what is known as the multi-domestic approach. What is the characteristic of multi-domestic? It is a tailor-made program. It is sensitive to the cultural aspect because we are focusing on the local market naturally. The advertising efforts may be in a win-win situation, right? Then comes up is like the marketing strategies are complex because traditional type of traditional mass with the international marketing, you can it becomes little difficult to compare it, right? And the minor product differentiations are made in the product considering the specific need of that particular market area, and then you enter that and try to win the market share and try to win the customers. So that is what is known as the multi-domestic approach, right? Next comes up is the franchising, right? Franchising comes up is no new term again for you. It is through it that the business can be expanded across the boundaries. You know that a franchisee or franchising is such a kind of method of distributing the products or services involving a franchisor who establishes the brand's trademark or trade name and a business system. And there is one more participant or party which is known as franchisee, who pays a royalty and often an initial fee for the right to do the business under the franchisor's name and system. Technically, the contract binding the two parties is known as franchise, right? But that term more commonly refers to the actual business that the franchisee operates. That means franchisor gives the right to the franchisee to operate or to use the brand name, and accordingly the business activities are taken up. They practice on creating and distributing the brand, and franchise system is most often referred to as franchising. Here the biggest advantage is using the franchisee's capital. Here the franchisee's capital can be used, and accordingly the local market can be covered with the brand name. The brand name would have not been able to come up with the franchisor there, but because the franchisee, there is advantage of having the franchisee there. What happens is you can use the capital there and you can make the market your own. Franchisor is able to establish a large number of outlets in a short period of time because he can provide with the franchises to so many different people, and with that in a short period of time he may have the many kind of outlets in a single domestic area. So that is how the franchising comes up into the it's one of the way of rather having the international expansion. Again, the advantages and disadvantages are there for it, and right, so no need to just discuss the same. We take up with the further process here. As we go ahead, we can see that there is the fourth way of doing it, that is joint venture, right? It is a kind of relationship between two or more businesses that enables each to achieve certain strategic objectives which neither would be able to achieve on its own. It's like having the strategic alliance. Otherwise it would have not been possible, but because you all are coming together, you are having the relationship between two or more businesses, thus advantages are able to achieve. So that is what is all about the joint venture. What happens is it provides the status as independent and separate entities, shares benefits, ownership, returns and risk, and control over the partnership, and continue to make the contribution to the alliance until it is terminated. That means joint venture gives the say full freedom to the separate identities. Even the benefits are being shared, ownership is being shared, returns and risk are being shared, and there is a complete control over the partnership. And until and unless the firms want to be together, they can have the joint venture taken up together, right? One of the way is international joint ventures also, which occurs when two or more businesses based in two or more other countries are joining the hands together, and a company wants to explore the international trade without taking on the full responsibilities of the cross borders. Then the local company may be asked to join the hands there, and like that there can be the international partners in the different business transactions, right? And if he takes up with the joint venture as the option, then they can take up the benefit of the foreign partners and likewise can gain the advantage, right, of gaining the objective, maybe gaining the profits and taking up with the customers in the international markets, right? So here we are coming an end to these particular ways of say international expansion like multi-domestic approach, franchising, licensing, and the last one that we dealt was joint venture. Again, the set of advantages and disadvantages are there in your say text, and you must go through it once so that you are clear with it. It can be the whole, it can be as a wholesome answer, or it can be asked in the form of short notes. Then we must be clear about the advantages and disadvantages of each one of them that we have discussed today, right? When we meet in the next session, we'll be taking up with the last set of strategy, that is the stage of renewal, right, wherein we will be taking up with two important strategies, that is retrenchment strategy and the turnaround strategy. So till we meet next, it's a goodbye from my side. Take care of yourselves and thank you.